Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 from Dreamhack Winter. So nice of them to name a tournament after me. 2020, the North American playoffs, the best of the best. They need no introduction, but otherwise, how will I fill the time until the first Adept or the Drone Rush come in? Wait, you never know. With this player. In the bottom left, the Canadian Zerg. A fan favorite. You never know which one of her is going to show up today. Is it going to be the Zerg who dominates every player from here to Korea? Or maybe the one who is more addicted to drones than defense? Either way, it's Scarlet. And in the top right, the young Protoss. The three-time WCS champion. From the great state of New York. Sponsored by Ting. Will he carry the torch yet again? It is NEEB! Opening as he usually does, with a gate expansion and nothing interesting. Looks like we have a nice, comfortable macro game to start things off. Stargate, NEEB hasn't switched it up for several years. I mean, NEEB the pioneer. For those who don't know, NEEB, back in Heart of the Swarm... Oh my god. I was just looking. Camera angle seemed off for a sec. I'm losing it. In Heart of the Swarm and before, NEEB was a Terran. You might be like, I didn't know that. That should tell you how well he did with Terran. But he saw the light of Ire. He saw the power of Protoss. And now we're here. He built his legacy with the legacy of the Void. Is it going to be an Oracle first? He's rallying to the Ovi. Void Ray to open it up. So the Void Ray this year has gotten... It's come on sale. Like, it's on clearance right now. It builds faster. It's a little cheaper. It moves faster when not charged up. Important for you Platinum players. But it still dies at the same rate to many things, but as an early game tool, and Terrans know this better, but as an early game tool, the Void Ray is a little more of an option, per se. Disproportionate slaughtering of overlords and early game defense. It just has a little more stability than that Oracle, which is reliant on a continued infusion of Red Bull for energy. And NEEB is not sponsored by Red Bull, he's sponsored by Ting, which is like Skype, but it doesn't suck. Sponsor me, Ting. I got you. Spore Crawler's on the way. I mean, the Void... An Oracle followed it up. Wait, whoa. Moracles. Did not really expect more than one. Especially after the Void Ray. That's a lot of Stargate time, that's a lot of gas. First Oracle is standard. Like, you're gonna expect the first Oracle. But then... does he build more? He hasn't actually added on. The third and fourth gas are pretty late. Pretty late in the scheme of things. NEEB has taken, of course, a third Nexus, which would be ridiculously greedy if Scarlett was doing anything but sitting back and defending the Stargate. but NEEB has already figured out he's safe enough to hold on to this. Couple of depths moving in. That was a bit of a distraction, it looks like. NEEB trying to distract from the oracles coming in. Maybe a little mistime. Okay, I get it. I'm gonna calm down a little. Thank you. I felt like I was too close to the action. I gotta maintain a reserved and composed observer perspective for unbiased casting, which I'm well known for. Roaches are the choice. Was the robo spotted? No. Were the gases spotted? I'm not sure. The Overlord was driven out before you could really draw any conclusions. What SCARLETT is expecting is not just straight up oracles. Even 2 oracles, they can one-shot drones with their combined efforts, obviously. But NEEB's not gonna... The best way to just die, like the only time Sky Toss can die, is if that's the only thing you build. If you're building anything underneath, or you eventually go back into the Stargate, it becomes a lot harder to deal with. I have to imagine this infestation pit is for Swarm Hosts, because if there's one thing NEEB's not going to have, it's an overwhelming amount of units, or Storm/Archons. And without those, Swarm Hosts are a strong choice. Without splash damage in general, the Locusts start grinding you down. Of course, NEEB asserting himself out here with a small but fierce army. I would definitely put a hashtag for this army on Twitter. Hashtag fierce. You got an Immortal. You got a few Sentries. You got a Void Ray. That's about it. And some Zealots coming in. They're big fans. I mean, they're Zealots. But a dozen Swarm Hosts. 14 Swarm Hosts. The number keeps going up. Wow. NEEB he has finished the Templar Archives. He does have enough gas for a couple Archons, but he's still stuck on 3 base, and without... Oh, Brenda! The Knitting Crew's here! The Queens are getting up in the action! This isn't the Commonwealth anymore! I guess for the Commonwealth of the Zerg. Technically, Scarlett's Canadian. But... Oh, Brenda! Oh, no! Wait! Transfuse. I meant to be here. I'm not the one out of position. The Swarm Host, the Locusts raining down. Stasis, a delaying tactic, but more Locusts coming in. Trigger the Stasis Ward. Staggered, though. Archons holding the line. Charge Lots at the back. The Charge Lot's gonna find some damage. Almost nothing at home to defend. When you bring your Queens up, the Queen's slaughtered. The Swarm Host on cooldown. NEEB strikes back. SCARLETT forced to run. A couple sad Locusts. But NEEB, with that fierce army, burns through the Locusts and drives back across the map. The Charge Lot counterattack precisely timed to both distract SCARLETT and do maximum damage. So who really took the better end out of this? NEEB takes a 4, feeling confident after that fight. The unit's lost. Right now, NEEB has only lost, well, pretty much only lost. He did lose a Warp Prism in there. I'm not sure where. Must have gotten sniped off. But the Void Ray, without the Queens were here as anti-air. The Void Ray just kills the Swarm Host. Such utility. Buy today. Suddenly, SCARLETT's Queen Swarm Host timing looking to have a... seems like a major point of weakness here is when you just kind of lose the Knitting Crew, the Queens early on, then you don't have any anti-air. So... Now that Spore Crawler outmaneuvered the Void Ray, almost killing it. Meanwhile, Roaches and Ravagers pressuring the 4th, but what does the army cost? NEEB has double the gas in his army, and that's the technicality, the complexity, the overall strength and synergy. I could throw out more buzzwords all day. If you invest in these long-term gas futures, you'll find yourself with a great proposition for a unit composition in the late quarter of this game. And that's what NEEB has been doing this whole time. Investment genius. Runs through the storms with the Archons because he knows he can weather it. Ravagers are a desperation move, a hedge. When you have the resources but you don't have the time for production. Ravagerling, the Swarm, against what is nearly a maxed out Protoss. +2 is finishing. +2 is already done for Scarlet. A couple queens. The granddaughters have come up. The second generation. Will they be greater than their foremothers? Meanwhile, the Storms knocking out most of the Locusts, softening up the rest. Down goes an Immortal. Ravager, Corrosive Biles raining down across the board, but the Archons and another Charge Law warping. The Locust no longer there for the buffer, and the front line of Roaches is buckling. The Queen's desperately transfusing from the back, sewing things back together. The Void Ray's back home. NEEB not willing to lose a unit he doesn't need to. But that last Locust wave was enough cover. You can trade Roaches. You can trade Locusts. And Scarlett actually making some progress here. NEEB wasn't able to get counter damage during that attack. Good Storms, finds a few Ravagers. Oracle, but the ragtag defense. A little bit of everything. We got Immortals, we got Archons. Meanwhile, Locust on the other side. Ravagers throwing things up. Battery overcharge, putting things back together. But 1 minute cooldown, and that is longer than that of a Locust wave. A couple charge lots, finding inspiration, cutting down the drones. Scarlet at 80, but NEEB is at 83 probes. Meanwhile, NEEB knows this has dragged Scarlet back just a little bit. The Queen not again! Grandma told me about this! Alright, Julia. Meanwhile, NEEB bolstering defenses. More batteries. All Corrosive Biles find some connections. There's a lot going on. NEEB starting to feel a little more pinned against the wall as Scarlet has maintained, as she do, a strong economy. Another round. NEEB dodges. But the Swarm hosts are in a bit of a precarious position. The creep spread up to the front. The Queen's found. But is it a bait? A couple dozen. How many Ravagers is that? There is 16. Well, the number's dropping. But at some point, there were nearly 20 Ravagers. Hydras being added in. A small 2 Zealot counterattack. But here we go. We've reached the late game. NEEB found time and space and resources for a fleet beacon. Scarlet, on the other hand, finished a hive, adrenal glands. Hydra is dead. I assume we're going to be looking at lurkers potentially as well. So NEEB going back into the sky toss, whereas Scarlet is maximizing the effectiveness of these ground units. Down goes the Oracle. Corrosive Bow clips it. Archon's falling as well. Scarlet starting to bank a whole lot of minerals. Meanwhile, NEEB is starting the carrier count, and as long as he's able to hold on to 4 bases, the main hasn't yet mined out. We still got 500 gas, a couple more minutes of mining on each of the main gas geysers. Right now, the income still in favor of NEEB, as Scarlet has been interrupted. She's actually built a bunch more, well, just extractors and spines and spores, which puts her drone count a little lower. The Locust, a continued, as long as the Swarm hosts stay alive, there's nothing stopping them from landing another wave. The Void Ray, the hero, the legacy of the Void. Throughout this game, another Queen targeted. The transfuse is keeping it intact. Where's the feedback? I don't like you guys, says the Templar. 0 out of 5 on Yelp. Keeps oh my god! Well, there goes the Queen, and with it, the cover. Finally, the Void Ray goes down as well. But the carriers have arrived. Double Lurker dead. But I don't think that's a mistake. I think that's for both Lurker upgrades at once, because Scarlet has money in the bank. She just needs ways to spend it. She's gonna go for the Lurker speed and burrow and range all at the same time. One of them, there's speed and burrow speed, so there's that. So NEEB is building that late game sky toss. Just the game doesn't stop. They're just ramping up. Neither side can get a decisive advantage. I think NEEB right now has the initiative. The map only has so many bases. The Swarm host! The Swarm host! The Swarm host. Now 2 less. Viper's on the way. The carriers have been spotted. The fact that Scarlet has not yet started a Spire tells me that she wants to end it still. This entire game has been Scarlet knocking on the door with kind of a battering ram, but NEEB holding that door. And now he has the composition to move out, but SCARLETT, once again, is going to be looking... Oh my god, we got Lurker range, Hydra range, and Adaptive Talons. The full Hydralist makeover here. Everything you could want. Oh, Corrosive Bow finds 2 High Templar with enough energy for at least 1, probably 2 storms. Meanwhile, counterattack, Locust, eaten through cannons. Not much there, but the Vipers! The Vipers! Yanks a carrier! Merit the harpoons! Feedback finds a Viper. Down goes one carrier, looking for another. Get over here! But SCARLETT struggling to deal with the death bomb. The counterattack wasn't enough. The drones were not evacuated. 20, these are changelings. 20 drones have fallen. 27 more Hydras are being built, but I don't know if that's enough. Lurkers, feedback, knocks out the energy on the Vipers no matter how much they consume. Another round of Corrosive Bows finds the mark on the ground army, but the Immortals and Archons underneath. A ridiculously strong buffer that has to be, even if the carriers are killed, what does it matter? The feedback's continually coming up on what Templar survived. 29 drones, another round of Locusts will actually break through the defenses, but at what cost at home? NEEB has put together the army. He's assembled his Lego set of incredibly expensive Protoss units. And SCARLETT just doesn't have the army to contend. It looks like game 1 goes to the American Protoss. Holding the line. Precision counterattacks. SCARLETT not able to break through. But there's a reason that we play more than one game. I don't think SCARLETT played poorly. I think many Protoss would have either panicked or just outright died to this warm host. But NEEB didn't seem to be phased at all. He was ready for it. Before the Locusts show up and NEEB comes through. You can't explain that. I thought Locusts were supposed to just eventually grind down a Protoss until they were dead. Into dust. Into whatever the Zealots are. Oh my god. Is NEEB... So NEEB, for a time... He's not cannon rushing. I don't know if I keep, like... Either I black it out of my mind, or he's just hatch blocking. I don't think I've ever seen NEEB cannon rush, but I'm pretty sure he has, and I've just blacked it out. Like, it's just not there. But he did send out a very early probe. It's a gate. It's just a hatch block here. One of the most annoying things. Like, Zerg players, is set at the professional level, Zerg players consider their third their natural. Because probe tosses all throughout have just decided you don't get to take your natural because there's annoying little probe there. Most of the time it doesn't mean cannon rush. But if you take your third, by the way, I mean, it's inconvenient. You'd rather take your natural. It's called your natural expansion, because, now get this, think about it. It's the place you would naturally expand to if you were a logical person. Yeah, it's no more complicated than that. No, it's actually named for the Terran player in Brood War, Natural. He was a French player who invented expanding. It's like... That's bullshit. It's like, eat carrots so your eyes can see better. Okay. Okay, Mr. Bond. The probe being annoying, denying dozens of minerals. And I will be making a mental note, and maybe a physical note. Alright. Flat players, this is where your third is, Zergs. And also, this is how you wall off Death Aura. Okay, so for the next Angry Coach, when I see every single Platinum Zerg and Protoss not do these things, I will just simply reference this point instead of losing my voice again. Two Zerglings. But NEEB slaps the probe in the wall. You shall not pass. Cancels it. Now, while the Protoss haven't invented the advanced technology the Terrans have to lower their depots, the Protoss can, of course, just warp in buildings without constructing them. So, I mean, like, you win some, you lose some. It's just that the Protoss do not want to defile the beautiful nature of their architecture by having it move or change once it is complete. I mean, Brenda, why are you here? Are you supposed to spread the creep? Sorry, I blacked out. Sorry. The NEEB can't. Okay, he didn't cannon rush. Avoid Ray is the choice. If it ain't broke, why fix it? NEEB doing essentially the same opener. Death Aura is a pretty similar map. I'd classify it in the smaller 4-base maps. What do I mean by 4-base maps? Those are maps where you can get 4 bases and wall off your third pretty well. In fact, Death Aura is a little easier than Pillars of Gold to wall your third. Many Protoss will just slap down 3 or 4 gates with cannons behind and make it a rough proposition for a Zerg to break through that. We will see. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Is that Roddy? No. Double Stargate. The Phoenixes will rise. And so will whatever units they pick up. Stasis Ward! You love to see it. NEEB using all the tools in the Swiss Army knife that is the Oracle. SCARLETT negating the stasis, by the way. I believe the Roach Warren... Well, that Roach Warren's in kind of a sus location right there. I think it's intentionally there to minimize the chance of being scouted. Of course, NEEB with flying units doesn't care too much. Oh, this Roach Warren's very bad. Not like it's not SCARLETT's fault, but NEEB has chosen an incredible build. What? Wait. 6 gases? SCARLETT, what are you doing? 6 gases. Is this just Ravagers? Oh, well, something was spotted. Something was seen. She canceled a couple roaches. She had to have seen something. SCARLETT proxies Aspire! Oh my god. Oh, I remember when like 4 people did this in Wings of Liberty, and people were like, oh, this is gonna be a strat. And then people started just killing the proxy spires when it became common. Because it's a proxy spire. The Phoenixes show up. I have no idea. I still think this is bad for SCARLETT. I think she got the idea that NEEB was going for a heavy Stargate build. But how does this play out? The problem is the Phoenixes are not, like, that many Phoenixes do not get surprised by anything. 8 Phoenixes can kill even Corruptors. So SCARLETT's going to have to make the decision on, oh, the Stasis found half a dozen drones. Do you build, I think you got to build Corruptors, right? You got to fight it head on. You don't go mutas against that many Phoenixes. Yeah. I think Corruptor Roach. Another Bludgeon build. The problem is, oh, it's Star Charge. The Stargate into the charge lots. The Phoenixes will pick up and knock down a bunch of drones. So it's another situation where SCARLETT is going to have an army that needs to do damage, and NEEB is going to be working. Oh my god. Okay, stop right there, criminal drone. NEEB just needs to defend. He's gonna have plenty of economy, plenty of production. He's right now ahead on workers. He has more income and a better army composition. So SCARLETT is gonna need to bash him over the head with a Roach Corruptor brick right now. Or find a way to get to the late game. The problem is NEEB is ramping up so quick that he's going... If SCARLETT just plays defensive, NEEB is going to start throwing zealots everywhere. We're going to have, like, +3. He's going to have a 4th base. He's going to go carriers again. If for some reason SCARLETT doesn't die, like, there's going to be Storm. Oh, but gets the warp. Oh, whoa, what? SCARLETT! The Prism! Oh, no. Void Ray goes down. Bit of a questionable charge up. The Prism is, like, the most important part of all this. NEEB was already making a second one. He's like, well, so this is the most uncomfortable and slow-moving base trade. The Caustic Spray just melts the Nexus, but also not so useful against Mass Charge Lot. Will SCARLETT have even remotely enough at home to defend? +1 attack is done for NEEB right as the main force moves into the 4th. Roach's Ravagers knocking down the force fields. But already down goes the 4th. Here's the Phoenixes. Corrosive Bile finds one. Queen's Branda! Oh my god, the Queen's really having a rough series so far. Meanwhile, recall on the main brunt of the army. The Archon's Caustic Spray, looking for the Nexus. The Stalker's actually more DPS against the Corruptors, but okay, wait, what's happening? I don't understand what's happening. Okay, so NEEB has lost 2 Nexi to Corruptors, which is, you know, a thing that can happen. It's such a weird scenario, because SCARLETT built all these. She needed the Corruptors in case NEEB went Mass Phoenix. But then he stopped building Phoenixes. So now we're in this awkward impasse where you, like, the Corruptors don't really die. Oh my god, not another one. No, they don't get 3. They don't get 3. Meanwhile, all this has happened. Triple kill! That NEEB is... Okay, is the cooldown of Caustic Spray less or more than that, the amount of time it takes to build a Nexus? This is becoming a real question right now, as the Roach Ravager is just whittling down. Down goes the 4th! NEEB is running out of mining, and SCARLETT melts NEEB in ways even when it was happening, I didn't realize what was going on. It still was not making any sense to me. But by the end, I think NEEB and myself come to the realization that, yeah, Corruptors are possibly the best anti-Nexus unit. I don't think either player really understood how much the Corruptors were going to do that game. That was... It was confusing. It was crazy. NEEB was just trying to build his army, and... By the way, we adjusted some microphone settings. And just to sound a little more like No, not like parting. But hopefully nothing's too loud or too quiet. We'll take this time. We do it live. But as we get into match 3, any complaints, Twitch chat with your full energy feedback. It's fine. So it's Twitch chat. If you don't like it on YouTube, after you like and subscribe, leave a comment saying Twitch chat is dumb. In fact, you could do that either way. It's up to you. Thank you, guys. Game 3. I don't know how you follow that one up. I don't think you'll ever see a game quite like that played out again. Not just in this series, just generally. That's one of those, like, I'm not gonna say 1,000, but like 1 in 100 matches where you're kind of left with, like you have a bunch of, you got a bunch of wheat, okay? Like wheat, you gotta go to your mill. I'm playing some Age of Empires. You gotta grind up the wheat, but you also have a cast iron pot. Cast iron, very strong, very iron. I like to think my casting is very iron. And moving on. So, like, these two things are different. You don't really cook wheat in a cast iron pot. I mean, you can. So the pot, in that case, was the corruptors. And the wheat was NEEB. Moving on. Will it be a Stargate again? I'm not gonna try to shovel myself out of that one, no matter how many cast iron pots I have. It could take a while. It's just not the right tool for the job, even if it might actually do the job eventually. Much like corruptors. I brought it back. We're here. Great job, everyone. Thank you. It is a Stargate. You know, where are the Adepts, NEEB? A probe dies, but so do both Zerglings. Where are the Adepts? Come on, it's time. Like, at some point, as a Protoss player, you essentially, your series are like a deck of cards. Which card are you going to pull this time? Is it a pay-to-win deck? Maybe. Adept booster packs are very good. But going for the same build every time as Protoss, it just isn't the best strat. Oh, jams himself in the minerals. I mean, NEEB has always been a stalwart proponent through his builds, not necessarily his words. Like, he'll do the same build 3, 4, 5 times in a row. And sometimes to his detriment. I was talking about the cannon rushes. I mean, sometimes you just kill, like... Oh, come on. Oh, SCARLETT dodges that one. Sometimes you just kill, like, 5 drones. Oh, my God. The amount of time, on top of killing 4 drones, the amount of time that was wasted, and minerals on these random spores. Now, spores aren't going to be too terrible with an Oracle on the way, but... SCARLETT is now supply blocked off the Overlord that died to a Void Ray because she was microing against Adepts. This is just one of those awkward starts, and I would know based on my casting thus far, but awkward starts make it harder to transition into that mid-game. And have the options like SCARLETT did last game. Like, wait, she didn't take any damage early. Not really. So, was easily able to get both Corruptors out while still having enough on the ground to hold the line. This game, though, NEEB is just... He just takes a third. I don't understand. He can't keep getting away with this. He will. But he just... I guess a Void Ray and an Oracle are a whole lot of early game defense against Zerglings or Roaches. But, like, his third's almost done. We're 5 minutes in. He's barely slower than a Zerg. Going with the double Oracle. This is a Game 1 style build again. Adding on the Twilight and the Forge behind. Already got Immortals in production. Oh my god. The slip and slide Oracle Micro. And the Adepts! Wombo combo! Shading in. 7 drone kills. When you take that much damage early, you get a little greedier, right? As a Zerg, you have a few less Zerglings. You maybe don't build quite as many Queens. And then you're more vulnerable to the follow-up. The Adepts just jamming themselves into pretty nasty locations. It looks like they'll end up with... No, wait, no, not done. Oh, God. That's Very good Oracle Micro, managing it. 10 drone kills. 15 total. NEEB has lost 4 Adepts and a Probe for 15 drones. I'll take that trade. Once again, NEEB back to being the top-tier Protoss investor. We know he is. SCARLETT gonna try to go to the Swarm Host again, so it looks like we're playing out a Game 1 style game. A Game 1 style game. Yep. But this time, NEEB has a stronger edge. I don't really think the map favors it anymore either. There are these mineral walls, but they can be mined out very quickly. Like, if these mineral walls were 500 minerals or something ridiculous, well, we'd see different strats. And also, Swarm Hosts would be more powerful because they could throw their locusts over them and they couldn't be chased down. But the problem with units like the Swarm Host that gain value over time, if you don't have map control, you don't have time. And therefore, you cannot gain much value. So while the Swarm Hosts are a good call, and maybe the best call, I think it's still going to be tough. It's going to come down to how surprised and off-guard NEEB is. And even that last game, as the Corruptor slowly melted through his economy, I don't feel like he was off guard. He was just kind of coming to the realization that Corruptors... I'm still convinced SCARLETT was not expecting... Like, SCARLETT didn't go into that game planning to kill 3 Nexi with Corruptors. That was not... Can we just mine these? It's only 10 minerals. It's 2 trips. I feel players are a little lazy. Like, Terrans will drop mules, which is so inefficient for it. But, like, 2 drones could come up and just mine through. It would take, like, less time than it took to take down the rocks. Meanwhile, though, the locusts have arrived. I want to see some hallucinations against the locusts. Meanwhile, though, SCARLETT hitting the left. This is actually a lot of danger here. The Charge Lock counterattack. Queens and Roaches come back to defend. 4th is vulnerable. Locusts have been dealt with, but the 4th base down for the count. Another round of Locusts over the top. This one should be held pretty strongly. Archon's pretty... well, Archon's a direct counter there. There's not enough to back it up. Usually the Locusts aren't used to kill so many units unless you're way ahead. So much as buffer for the units that will kill the units defending the Locust. Now the biggest, both players see it, but there's a Warp Prism. And how many games... I remember watching SCARLETT in NASL, I want to say 2014. Yeah, we'll just throw that one out there. Losing to Warp Prisms in the main, mostly because she would build all her tech in the main, like a Spire, a Greater Spire. Here we only have the Hive, the Infestation Pit, and the Evo Chamber, which isn't as bad as all of the tech, but it's most of it, and here come the charge lots. 6 drones go down. The Swarm Host up the front, the Knitting Crew behind them. Stasis, helping to zone out some of the Locusts. They do time out in Stasis, which is very depressing. Like, why are Locusts the only unit that times out in Stasis? Like, they're already temporary enough. It's like, well, they can't handle the stresses of being in Stasis. Alright, get out of here with your science. Okay. And, why can Lurker Spines go across... Don't... Shut up! Shut up! Why do mutas flap their... No! Why can't the battle cruisers teleport closer to the battle? Terry... This is boring science stuff. Well, this is awkward. I think NEEB threw in a stasis as the Locusts were flying. Oh, Branda! The Queen who lived! What HP! The Ravagers who very much didn't. Well, she saw the deaths of her sisters, and now decides to take... Well, the creep spread is great, so despite all my tangents, I wasn't seeing the signs of such a good position. Well, I was about to say for Scarlet, but NEEB is holding strongly. Oh, whoa! I shouldn't talk. You know what? I quit. I'm going back to retirement. Archon's dying at the third. 3 Archons down thus far. Several Templar. Scarlet keeping the pressure up at both bases, but once again, flying in from the Stargate, the saviors of the Protoss, the carriers. Chrono boost across the board. +1 nearly complete. Hydra's Den is done. Scarlet is going for the rich Vespine base, and she knows how valuable it is. The gas income. Where am I? The gas 1,600 a minute. Translation. That's 16 lurkers a minute of gas right now for Scarlet, as the main base is still mining it. Double Spire. She's looking to use those investments. The carriers, though, will eventually kill all of this. Eventually. They don't have any armor upgrades, so the interceptors with the +1 still doing a lot of damage to the roaches. Corrosive Bile looking for a carrier. I think that was on the box, if any of you have the box edition of Legacy of the Void. The Queen will stand her ground, whereas everyone else retreats. The Prism waiting for its moment again. A lot of the drones were killed earlier, but Scarlet now has stabilized. Where are those spires? At the natural, with the Lurker Den and the Hydra Den. Roaches and Ravagers coming up. Scarlet trying to zone NEEB off the map as she finds a counter to the carriers. The carriers can't just go sauntering across without respecting the amount of pressure Scarlet can put on back at home. A couple more cannons and batteries taken down by another wave of locusts. Roaches and Ravagers, the creep spread, oppressive, as is a trademark for Scarlet. Charge lots into the third. Queen potentially being assassinated. Larva production is still a valuable resource here. Scarlet has 23 larvae in the bank. Looks like she's adding in... Well, the Corruptors are on the way. So are the Lurker upgrades. The carriers, for now, not building any more as of yet is NEEB. Going for Blink, giving himself options. Meanwhile, though, another Locust Wave. Well-spread cannons. I think that's completely intentional. Partially for Corrosive Bile, but also to make sure the Locusts have a tougher time killing them all. Meanwhile, the Roach Hydra getting chased back. NEEB swinging with the right and defending with the left. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism taking a very, very precarious pathing, but somehow survives to warp in a dozen charge lots on top of the rich Vespine base. Scarlet on the defense for almost the first time this game, since the very early game against the Harass. But once again, NEEB has half a dozen carriers and some of the best Protoss units underneath. Some of the Swarm hosts taken down before the fight starts. They'll rescue a few Locusts out, but they're popped before. Like, they drop to the ground before. The Storms rain down. Corruptors targeting the carriers. The Storms would have to be on top of the carriers in order to help here. NEEB thinning out. Scarlet trying to replenish her army. More roaches on the way. Not that much gas in the bank. Supply plummeting for Scarlet. The carriers will hold. The Immortals will hold. The Archons will hold. The good units will hold. NEEB sacrificing the Zealots and the Templar and anything else underneath for the good of his most expensive investments. Scarlet taking a loss in that battle. It's not over, but lost 2,300 more gas and lost most of that gas income. More carriers on the way. The Corruptor count grows. Scarlet needs a good fight with minimal storm. Oh my god. I believe NEEB understands that as well. But has a different take on whether or not that should happen. Well, Jimmy, check the forecast. Yeah, that looks right. Swarm host looking for their opportunity. This is a real tough army to beat, unless you have overwhelming forces, and Scarlet does not. The storms raining down, the storm wall breaking out. The base is just kind of gone. The Corruptor's trying to dodge, but the storms do a full 360 no-scope. More storms, locusts coming down, roaches from the south, Corruptors from the north. Corruptors bruised, Templar merging underneath the Corruptors. The carriers are falling, but the time is on the clock. The Archons come out. And while the carriers, all but one may fall, the Archons, the Templar, now very angry that they're out of Red Bull for energy for Storm, merge into Archons, and their power is overwhelming. In order to counter the Corruptors already, NEEB is going for Flux Veins Void Rays. In case, just in the spot, he's not going to lose a game to Corruptors ever again. After that last experience, we are not going to just let the Corruptors go. We're going to deal with them head on, if it comes to that. Scarlet's at 120 supply. She's got 53 drones. The incomes, the stonks for NEEB. Invested in the long term, and it pays off. The not this time. The overcharged shield battery patting himself on the back here, but it's not enough. The caustic spray melts the Nexus. Deja vu. But Scarlett will take that Nexus and then take her leave from this match. If there's one, we've all been there. We've all been there. But NEEB goes up 2-1. Match point. We go into the long map. NEEB playing. Scarlet's got to mix it up. Whatever happens, Scarlet's got to mix it up. NEEB has a hammerlock right now on how to play that late game style. He went for the Stargate, like the more fleshed out Stargate in game 2. Didn't pan out, but the Stargate opener carving out his third. The problem is, unless you invest in an attack early, you either have to be very greedy or aggressive, I think, against this style. Like, that's where Scarlett has to find an opportunity. Because especially on the long map, but also known as, okay, I'm going to try to say it, Jagannath. Or Jagannath? I don't... It's named after a thing that or apparently the loose translation etymologically into English is Juggernaut. So that's also fun, but that takes explaining every time. So that's I'm gonna stick with the long map. It's just so long. Even with the speed zones, like the power boost Mario Kart style here, it is about almost twice the rush distance of, say, a Death Aura. NEEB, like, the problem with that style NEEB is playing is that it looks simple enough. There's a lot going on underneath. But you could say that about NEEB in general. As you need to be continually figuring out, is it going to be an early layer timing? Like, are we going to have Hydras? What sort of pressure could be put on? Can I just take a third? What do I need to do with the Oracles? The Oracle micro itself is an art. It is reliant on very active scouting, which is what a Stargate plus Adepts give you. But if you lose any of the pieces of the puzzle, like, for example, if you lost the first Void Ray, or 1 or 2 of the oracles, or you didn't get any damage done with 2 adepts, and they're just zerglings. There are a lot of parts of it that can go wrong. So it definitely is a build that uses... It's a pro build. I'm not a professional caster because I can't come up with any good words for this. It's a high-level build. Alright? That's it. Just leave it there. Oh my god. Don't we have a script for the first 3 minutes, Jimmy? Come on. Just say the same, and then read the production tab. Stargate on the way. Much like the other games where a Stargate was on the way. Zergling speed. Will it be a Void Ray? Doesn't quite have the minerals yet. Void Ray begins. And will it just be the 3rd? I do think if you are a higher level Protoss, though, this is something to study. The Dreamhack, by the way, shout out to Dreamhack/ESL. Yes, now part of ESL. Kind of felt like it was before, but now it is officially. For sending out those replays, so all of us disciples can learn from the teachings of these incredible players. Hopefully you like and subscribe to the idea that this cast was entertaining. And also maybe learn something for yourself. Or at least think, if I used these builds when I played 8 years ago, I'd be pretty good. While ignoring the fact that oracles didn't exist, queens had like 0 range, infestors could counter... Moving on. Rest in peace, infestors. Now, let's... there we go. That's a good one. That's a good one. We're going to talk about how StarCraft was different back in the day. Larva Inject was 4 drones. 4 larva. Adepts didn't exist. Carriers were arguably better and or worse. And other exciting things. NEEB coming in, like, are we just gonna... If it weren't for the map, this is almost the same game again. The 3rd time, but how many drones die this time? So far, the total is 2. NEEB comes in. Great Oracle. So slick. So smooth. So... dicey. Oh, Brenda! Give us our range back! They just don't make these knitting needles like they used to. Roaches with speed. If Scarlet slaps down the infestation pit, well, this game... There is a big difference between losing 15 and 6 drones. Like, it's about 9 drones. Let me clarify. The timing is important. Like, it's much worse. It's much worse to lose 5 drones of your first 30 than 10 drones of your first 60. There's a certain baseline level of income you need to replace those drones. And once you get to like 45 or 50, you can at least replace drones. You have the mineral income to use that larva. So only losing 6, 7 early on is not a significant blow to your mid-game timing. You'll have a few less units, but it's not a huge deal. Last game losing 15, mostly before 50 drones, that's a gut punch. That's going to slow you down. You got to take time and larva to recover. But this time, NEEB, by the way, NEEB didn't go for the Immortals. He just went for a bunch of gates. He does have a robo, but it was for a Prism Starglaves is the... Wait, this isn't Starglaive. Starglaive is when you build more Phoenixes. Either way, Stargate directly in the charge lots. But this time it's Roach Hydra from Scarlet. Roach Hydra with some... I believe there was an infestation pit. Yes, already a hive on the way. So both players just pumping up the unit counts early. NEEB looking for a killing blow, but Scarlet ready to match. I don't know, like without Immortals to provide some extra stability and a little bit more range damage, this is actually a dicey maneuver from NEEB. This is an army that can be killed. It can be beaten. And overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. But the recall! What a timing! Oh, he's out of there. I think lost. Was that a sentry that was targeted? It looks like it. NEEB realized the danger at the last moment. And he got out. He went into the bushes. Scarlet didn't quite realize and disappeared. Meanwhile, Queen assassinated in the main. Scarlet will be dragged. Little select all army action there. Or something close to it. I then looked at the Ling. Wasn't select all army. Let's not. The creep spread is good. It's just the map is so long that it doesn't look as impressive as it is. The creep spread being this far out, 9 minutes in, across the entire map, is very impressive. As always, of course. Scarlet, I think one of the first things she was, oh, you shall not pass the pseudo island base on a peninsula at the back here. NEEB blocking left and right. Stasis ward. Now those units will have to be dealt with. They're not locusts. So, oh, the storm hammer finishes and do it! Do it! Oh, NEEB, come on! Why don't you do this for me? I wanted the force field into storm. We'll get there. But it appears both sides have shown some jabs. Thrown some jabs. Not, well, maybe shown as well. So, but we're going straight to the late game. Before 10 minutes, we're essentially maxed out. Scarlet is at 90. We could have easily been maxed out before, but we've been teching up. Scarlet, 90 drones. Already at a hive. Double lurker upgrades. Meanwhile, NEEB, fleet beacon, 4 bases, 80 probes. Going for +1 air and another cyber core, which means double air ups. We have just kind of speed run our way to tier 3 here. And late game tech. As neither of these players are able to close the distance fast enough for anything close to a killing blow. Scarlet looking good. I think in this situation, while, like, Scarlet has had 3 tries now. No, 2 tries, I guess, technically, at dealing with the carriers. But this is the game she's best equipped for it. She's got as much of the map as she wanted. She's got plenty of drone. She's got all the tech. Almost literally. Let's fight. Spire's on the way. Lurkers well upgraded. Just dunk their faces into the ground and start ripping through it. Is there enough? There's revelation here. The only thing that cannot be killed. Not a great angle for the lurkers. The storms rain down. Scarlet striking on the right, but NEEB melting the lurkers on the left. He's got to hold the high ground. A couple storms. Another fierce Protoss army. Around the zealots warped in. NEEB has set up his base. Nearly impenetrable. The active defense. The shield rotates around. Dodges the Roach Hydra by merging into an Archon. Baiting more Roach Hydra into its death. NEEB holds on to his 4th and his 5th strongly. Meanwhile, there is the Warp Prism. Mapu showing us. Shout out to Mapu. Best observer in the business. And there are nearly a dozen. Double air upgrades. Carriers on the way. +3, +2 for Scarlet. NEEB is going for +2, +1 on carriers. But here come the Hydras and Lurkers. Pushing through. Carriers have arrived. Are there enough Hydras? Another army. There are no units here to defend, but they're on the high ground at the... We'll call it a fort. SCARLETT looking for an opportunity. One thing I'm noticing is no infestors. No Vipers, no infestors. NEEB's gonna hold. Lurkers knocked out and pushed back. 16 Corruptors on the way. I think you need Vipers. It's gotta be Vipers. You gotta have an opportunity for Parasitic Bomb just to force any sort of micro, and Abduct to kidnap those carriers and then murder them. NEEB, do you... I'm like, come on, NEEB. What are you, testing the waters? War Prism in the main. Meanwhile, NEEB strikes through the center. He realizes it's time. Their Templar coming up. Charge lot split off to the left. Lurkers scrambling to intercept. War Prism finds an opportunity on the right. NEEB striking directly into SCARLETT's base and gonna knock out most of the drones and the base itself. Meanwhile, more drones falling. Left side cleaned up, but not before getting a couple more. 20 drones have fallen almost instantaneously. Here come the Corruptors. The Storm's raining down. Archons underneath. They have +2 attack done. Corruptors targeting carriers. It's unclear exactly what's happening. It looks like the shift queue is good. The Lurker's moving up. Another carrier gonna fall. Down to 2, but the Corruptor count is getting critically low. And we've seen this before. SCARLETT takes a good fight. But it's not good enough. NEEB winning the war. SCARLETT loses 2,500 more gas. She's down to 66 drones. She lost 2 bases. She lost a bunch of Corruptors. NEEB lost a couple carriers, but he's still sitting on the same economy he had when he left his base. There was no counterattack. SCARLETT tried to poke and prod and just pressure NEEB. NEEB just kind of punched her in the face right there. That was critical damage, and it continues to add up. The Warp Prism was somehow left alive, or pulled back and added back in. Dark Templar in the mix here for NEEB, and NEEB just playing a more complete game right now. SCARLETT kept looking for all... You ever seen Lurker eggs wall out of... Oh my god, it slips through! Slips through, finds the angle. Oh. The Spore is targeted. The Lurkers desperately defend. SCARLETT knows this is match point. She's got to fight it out. DT Blink. What are these upgrades? NEEB is just... He's cornering the whole Protoss market. Cannons, Void Rays, Mothership, DT Blink, +2 air, +3 air, +1 shields, Flux Veins. Come on. Were your parents ever so rich they bought you Flux Veins for your Void Rays on your 16th birthday? Well, NEEB's weren't. He had to win a bunch of tournaments as Protoss to afford that. He pulled himself up by his turbo button, and he found the opportunity to get Flux Veins to shut down those Corruptors. Because there's no splash damage. There's no fungals. There's no Parasitic Bomb. Corruptors gonna get melted by the Voids like they melted the Nexi. And NEEB is looking great right now. He's got all his bases. 3 more Stargates. Stargate Command in the main right now. And dial in potentially a victory for the American Protoss. SCARLETT scrambling. She's stabilized. But for how long and at what cost? The Fist of NEEB is winding up for what could be the final punch. SCARLETT has a couple Vipers. I say it now. I didn't see them before. Mixed in. But the mothership has arrived. And that's some real ship right there. SCARLETT gonna see it. And only it, because that's how motherships work. And the Overseer's already stretched thin. SCARLETT beaten back to 5 bases. NEEB is on 6. The income... Well, that's the army size. SCARLETT actually mining solidly again. So, on paper, NEEB isn't that far ahead. SCARLETT has potentially the right army. A bunch of Corruptors, Vipers, Lurkers underneath for the ground army. but we've seen these fights before. Now I'm not basing it on cost or unit composition. NEEB, in these major fights, with carriers involved, has won every time. Scarlet has had varying amounts of success, sometimes getting more, sometimes just getting wiped. But Scarlet has yet to win a fight against NEEB's fully completed Sky Toss composition. And this is the furthest we've gotten in this. So, she slowed it down, building a vanguard of spores. Instead of trying to have the entire map at once, just methodically taking bases. At this point, NEEB has more map control. The Viper, looking for an abduct. There are Templar underneath. The feedback slaps the Viper and a couple storms driving away. Throws out a water balloon. NEEB says 2 can play at that. What? So buildings do not warp in faster in the WLA, the speed zone, but the probe builds them faster. NEEB building a forward, I guess, just a battery charging station. These are almost all shield are they all shield batteries? They're all shield batteries. The probes on the assault. The chain. My life for wait a second. The probes are pulled. NEEB with a Templar-only army. Is that tectonic destabilizers? The ridiculously increased damage against buildings. Also known as the Dorito boost. What happens is the Tempest anti-ground attack now does plus 40 versus buildings. It's specifically designed to dismantle these spore forests. NEEB is taking... Whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, if you're here... As you see, Tempest... This is weak Tempest without tectonic destabilizers, but with the Dorito boost. Oh my god. NEEB with a shout-out to his fellow American, Artosis. Building 15 batteries and a cannon on one pylon.
Who does that?
I'm just excited for tectonic destabilizers here. It's so fun to say. Why do Protoss get all the cool upgrade names? Oracle might be able to reveal the lurkers, but can it reveal its own death? And also, can it reveal why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Another revelation. Dorito boost enabled. Looking for the water balloons getting involved. Chopping through those spores. Oh my. Another feedback. He didn't even see the Templar. Another revelation. Spots the feedback. Scarlet. A little bit of lurk. Like, there's money in the bank. Both players, like, Scarlet is 59. She's only got 59 workers. NEEB only has 48 probes. There's only so much to mine from. What are the Zerglings gonna do? Observers back at home. NEEB keeping these key units. Ready for the final assault. Not taking any chances. Another... Like, the Vipers are just so sad. Scarlet also, unfortunately, not sponsored by Red Bull. The energy a struggle. Otherwise, the queens might fly. Because Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull, sponsor me! Like and subscribe so Red Bull will notice me. Oh my god. Like, you might be like, well, this looks ridiculously difficult to beat, and that's because it is. But on paper, the answer is Viper, Corruptor, Broodlord, Lurker. Might be like, that sounds like a lot. NEEB has Templar, Mothership, Tempest, Carrier, Void Ray, Oracle. Like, NEEB's going to Hogwarts with all this spellcasting over here. These drones are very sad. And now they're dead. So they're not sad anymore, which is a plus. NEEB is storming Changelings. Okay, what's the play? The Lurkers are zoning NEEB into what was once known as Scarlet's base. Well. Wait. God damn it, NEEB. NEEB says, I am not willing to lose even a single unit. No, Templar left. You didn't even need to. You could have just flown the Oracle. It would have just been one Templar. No Templar left behind. But Void Rays can just die to spores. That's fine. I don't. We don't care about them. Nobody cares about Void Rays. Meanwhile, though, the Artosis pylon!
What a strong player.
It's not enough. The Wulas, as the Immortals and Templar aggressively hover through. Meanwhile, an attack, but the storm's raining down. NEEB has put a forward operating base. Oh, Parasitic Bomb the Void Ray! You keep bringing the virus back to the fleet. Oh my god, NEEB is really struggling. That Parasitic Bomb did maximum damage, and all the shields of all the Protoss units, so uncomfortable. But only the shields, which regenerate, which is unfortunate. The Tempests are so goddamn loud. Why are they so loud? They're the loudest unit in the game. Just their attack is so loud. I can't hear myself over the Tempest. Ah. And he just leaves. Alright, very dead. The Mothership. You're not my babies. It's felt like Scarlett has been losing. I mean, look at the gas. Look at it! Nope. Give me! Not that! Oh my god. Look at it!
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you!
Scarlett! It's not looking good. I don't know how you trade efficiently against this army. NEEB is building another speed zone battery charging station. And I'm pretty sure all the animations of Stasis Ward, the Wula, and all the different colors are even, like, and I have many gigaflops on my computer, but I've noticed that speed zones definitely kill my FPS. Probably because they have this fancy graphical effect. So between all of that, it's becoming very difficult to keep track of what's going on. And this map has 4 speed zones, which is the most of any map. And there are probes just chilling. Nothing left to mine. We may actually mine out, but NEEB is forcing a conclusion. Could you calm down, Tempest? Just turn the slider down a little. Meanwhile, more probes die. Stasis is zoning. It feels like NEEB is slowly smothering Scarlett. This, well, it's not even that slow. It's like the garbage compactor in Star Wars. Even the rocks will not escape. It's closing in, and Scarlett is gonna need some act of space god at this stage. She's got 17 drones. The army supply... Oh my god, the DT blinks away. The army supply is 160-ish for both sides. The army value is 10,000 minerals and 7,500 gas. You gotta fight. Scarlett's out of mining. That's it. Either she fights for her bases, or she dies without them. Here come the Corruptors. Storms on the Lurkers. Double time warp! Oh my god! The game is being played at so many different speeds right now. Down goes the mothership. The Corruptors dodge past most of the storms. The Lurkers wipe out. Wait. Okay, the Corruptors, but the Void Rays are charged up. Targeting down the carriers. More Void Rays on the way. The Corruptors going for the Tempest. 1, 2 Archons underneath. Scarlett sniping key units. Going straight past the Archons. The air fleet is dismantled. The Golden Armada is destroyed. And Scarlett, how does this keep happening? The Corruptors are now free to kill Nexi. Unless the Archons come... Well, they're just... Why are there so many Oracles? How does this keep happening? NEEB just cancels. So the problem is now NEEB can rebuild, and Scarlett cannot. Scarlett is out of gas. Literally. And sometimes the game's close, and you can just rebuild Zerglings or something. For over 5 minutes, NEEB has had an income lead, and that is not changing. Well, Scarlett will build the Zerglings, because the options are very low. Meanwhile, Revelation, the Lurkers trying their best. Their best ain't good enough. More Tempest, more cannons. It's just Corruptors. A 100 supply difference. 13 drones. Scarlett finally won a fight. Finally, I'll call it a win on the fight against the Sky Toss, but it wasn't good enough. NEEB, too solid with that unit composition. Scarlett not able to whittle it down. He took too much before Scarlett could drive it back. And now we're going to watch to see if Zerglings and 3 Lurkers can counter, like, how many cannons? There are 44 cannons on the map. They're not all in the same place, but that actually makes it more difficult. Meanwhile, all flavors of Templar represented here in this attack, and will enable NEEB, after half an hour in Game 5, to take victory. NEEB just looking like the better player in this match. Scarlett, I'm really surprised Scarlett didn't attempt any sort of early game, especially in games 3 and 4. Just kind of, it felt like she got closer every game, but NEEB just, you can't let NEEB get 3 bases. NEEB is like the Scarlett of Protoss. He always takes too many bases. He almost religiously macros. Every once in a while, he'll mix in a timing if he feels like he doesn't have a grasp on the matchup right now, which for Protoss is like half the time. But I don't know. Should Scarlett have mixed in one of those spicy cheeses? Did NEEB just play too well? Our carriers are Protoss, the OP. I don't know. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, check out these amazing videos. Wow. Or Twitch chat. Give me a winter sub Twitch chat for the people. But thank you to Dreamhack for sending that out. Thank you to the players for putting on good games for the fans. Hopefully you enjoyed this North American playoff. And make sure to check more of Dreamhack, me, 2020, and so much more. Thank you for watching. Good luck, and have fun.